Welcome to the Lakers Fast Break Spotlight on Lakerholics Weekend. My guests are Michael H. and LakerTom. We have a short show. My fault. I got a lot to do today. Taking my kid to School of Rock in about half hour, 45 minutes. So I wanted to veer away from trades and stuff. It seems like we're gonna have to wait till after the 6th or maybe the 7th if they decide to not trade Lauri Markkanen next year at all. Kind of like what we did with Vando last summer when we signed him after the last possible day, so that the window closes before the trade deadline, after the trade deadline, and it basically guarantees you get a year of the player. They can play. It's essentially a no trade agreement. It's not a clause. It's basically a, hey, we won't get rid of you. We like you enough. And if Lauri Markkanen doesn't move, I don't see. It basically comes down to Portland as the only team that might dump assets this summer. I know that they're looking for 2 first-round draft picks. I don't think the Lakers want to give out 2 first-round draft picks.
Portland is delusional.
Oh,
right now.
Yes. I don't know. For years, I have wondered what that plan is or was or could be. It doesn't make sense to me, and I'm just a fan. So I have a hard time understanding what the professionals are talking about behind office doors over in the Rose Garden or whatever it's called these days. It's like they're trying to. I feel like they're trying to do what Indiana did really well, but Indiana found core pieces that they just never let go. Miles Turner was a core piece that everybody was like, they're going to trade him this year. 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 And they never traded him. He might retire a Pacer for all we know. And I'm not saying they built around Miles Turner, but they got players in place that made sense for a team that made sense. And I just don't see that with Portland.
Well, the thing about the Trailblazers is last year when Dame wanted out,
yep,
everybody was looking at Grant's contract going, they're going to have to pay to get rid of that because it's a bad contract. It was a please don't go. It was a please don't go Dame contract,
Sure, I won't disagree with that.
And he now instead of paying, they're trying to get people to pay for their mistake. Yeah, and nobody's going to do it. Not the Lakers, not anybody. That's why it's good to wait on him because at some point they're going to they'll want to get rid of him. And they're going to have to just dump his salary.
I mean, I don't know. In a world where Rudy Gobert got the haul that he got, I know. I just saw Joe's comment too, and I went and saw Dweezil's Apple last night, and they brought out a anyway. I'm not gonna. It was hilarious. It was great. Anyway, it's hard to gauge. It's hard for me anyway to gauge what is a good or bad trade. I thought the Rudy Gobert trade was a bad trade, and if it doesn't result in a championship for the Timberwolves, I will continue to think it was a bad trade. On the flip side, there was no way that team without Rudy Gobert seemed like it was ever even had a chance. I just feel like they gave up too much for Rudy Gobert. And so, AD, I kind of feel like if we hadn't gotten that title in 2020, we'd all be sitting here thinking like we gave up too much for AD. But we got that title. So that kind of softens the fact that we're still paying off AD years after the title.
But he's still in his prime. He's still in his prime.
I agree. I'm just saying when you give
5-6 years of time left in there, hopefully.
Maybe 4 or 5. But I'm just saying that when you give up that much, the expectation, especially from the fan base, is title. It's not like, oh, I hope we're still competitive. I mean, that's just whether that's fair or not is not beside the point. That is the expectation. When you give up multiple first-round draft picks, when you trade multiple,
the value of those draft picks is really questionable.
Any draft pick is really questionable.
I saw a study recently where they took all 30 positions in a draft and they figured out what is the percentage that you're going to get an all-star player from each of the positions. Now, obviously, in the top 5 positions, you've got pretty good chances. But I tell you, after like 5, it just disappears, man.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. Number
Yeah.
37 could show up better than number 18.
I mean, Kobe.
So
look where Kobe was drafted, right?
Yeah.
Look where Isaiah Thomas was drafted. You know, all sorts of guys.
Look where Luka was drafted. You know, I mean, look at all these guys. In hindsight, you know, that'd be a whole different draft for sure.
Of course.
Portland is this. Portland. Michael's right, and you're right that Portland really. What are they doing? You know, their biggest problem right now is that, and it's their biggest strength is that they don't have to do anything. You know?
Yeah, that means they do nothing.
Yeah, you know, to a certain extent, it's the Jamie Sweet formula. You know.
What?
Let's root for a team that rarely does anything, and then let's predict that they'll do nothing. You know, and
just keep putting words in my mouth, LT. Just keep putting words in my mouth.
I really
here's what I find interesting about Portland, though. They're the way that the new CBA has affected everybody's situation. They're taking advantage of that, and they're basically saying, "We can wait till December." Now, any of you teams that want to improve, if you can wait till December, January, or February, we're glad to deal with it. We're going to hold our price for now because we don't hold their price. Not to. The only reason they have to do that is playing time for these young kids that they got.
They don't even have to worry about that. They can. So this is how I look at the scenario. Because in the new CBA, one of the things that's almost never talked about, or at least that I ever hear anybody talk about, is that there's all these, everybody talks about like, oh, the penalties for the second apron, first apron, second apron, what tools can you use? Nobody or everybody kind of glosses over the fact that there is also a salary floor. You cannot go into the regular season below the salary floor. I don't know.
You used to be able to do that until
I don't know what the penalty. I don't know what the penalty for that is. Like, do you forfeit games or whatever? I don't know how do you know how you enforce that. But the fact of the matter is,
you pay money to the league up to the salary floor. That's what you do.
Is that the real penalty?
That's the penalty.
Oh, that's nothing then.
You know, actually,
well, it is because you can give that to a player. You know, so you don't want to waste that. I mean, that's
actually the biggest problem with trades and things like that. I don't see it as being the biggest problem. I don't see being the new CBA. I see the play-in game as being the bigger problem. Yeah, because you got 12 teams in the West, 12 out of 15.
Easier to be a buyer.
You're thinking that, hey,
there aren't any sellers, man.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's no sellers.
Thank God for Flag coming up as a draft pick because that's the only chance you got.
You know, in the West, you've got 12 to 13 teams that think they can make the play-in. In the East, you've got 10 to 11 teams. You know, and so it's like these guys are saying, well, let's wait and see what we can get. I mean, let's wait and see what we do. Yeah. So that's why waiting until later in the season, waiting until closer to the trade deadline, these teams are going to start looking at saying, okay, well,
you took 4 sellers and turned them into potential buyers.
Yeah. So
not even buyers, just wait and seers. They don't. Yeah. There's no time. There's no clock,
man.
There's no clock, right? The clock of a fan impatience is not like a clock that any GM gives a flying fig about. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, you're impatient about me not making a trade.
And you look at some of the trades that were made. I mean, Bridges is a really good player. He's not an all-star.
No,
you got 5 first-round picks for him. Yep. A big swap and a second.
Yep. No, they got a haul.
Like, you know, and the reason why they got that was because there's no merchandise on the market.
Well, the other thing too is that you'll notice that the moves that are getting made now are moves where the team has really said, okay, this is the guy we're going to go all in for. Yeah. This is the guy we're going to pay for. And that's something, as I've always put out, that Rob Pelinka just doesn't have the balls to do.
Well, I disagree with that. So I think that this is because you've mentioned that a couple of times, and I've been thinking about that, and I agree. Listen, I am no Rob Pelinka defender. We could do a whole show on how I don't understand how he defined the market for Max Christie before anyone else defined the market for Max Christie. Did you know that Max Christie was a restricted free agent, that we could have simply matched any offer that came down the pike for him? Instead of doing that, we
well, it's because they want to trade him. They want a trading chip for January.
We'll see. I don't know what Max. I don't
They're
know.
going to put him out there and turn him into a trading chip. That's the best move they can make.
That might be the best move. That might be the best scenario for Max Christie. I mean, I was arguing with one of our fans who emails us all the time. His name is Rodell. If you're watching, Rodell, hope you're doing well. And he was like, I was like, looking at the players that took the vet minimum: Tyus Jones, Gary Trent Jr., Drummond. I can't think of others off the top of my head.
Would you rather have one of them than?
I would rather have any one of those guys than Max Christie. Any one of those guys I would rather have than Max Christie.
Well, you first got to be willing to give up a couple picks to get a slot to put him into. We can't sign anybody or do anything right now.
And I'm not even saying. And you could have even maybe had Max Christie as well. If you had gotten to the point, you could have said, like, F it, we're gonna send out 2 second rounders to get rid of Cam or Wood or whoever. Like, we're gonna free up the roster spot. We'd rather have Drummond. We'd rather have Gary Trent Jr. We'd rather have Tyus Jones. Any one of those three fills a need for the Lakers. Yeah. I mean, Andre Drummond is maybe not the bruising center everybody imagined, but he's one of the elite.
He's better than what we got right now, backing up AD.
He is still an elite rebounder, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So that's a valuable skill in the modern NBA, and it's actually a weakness for our team that none of the players making vet minimums addresses. So that, I mean, but we don't.
Pelinka has just really.
But where I would
trapped in the bed, and now it's almost like taking the political statement of crapping in the bed, and now the only question is he going to roll around in it or not?
So this is my point that I'm getting to in a roundabout way. He did have a player. They did have a player. It was Anthony Davis. We burned the majority of our assets, the majority of our tradable assets 3-4 years ago. The number's going to elude me right now. 4 years ago on AD. Just like the Knicks burned.
It was a good trade.
Just like the Knicks burned the majority
of their trade. It was one of those trades where we said we're going to get this guy and we'll pay whatever it takes.
But that's what I'm saying.
Those are the moves that transform teams, man.
But this is what I'm saying. We can't expect those moves every summer. The Lakers simply don't have the assets to make.
We've only got one of those moves so far.
Here's my deal. Here's my deal with the whole thing is there's nobody on the market worth giving up a ton of stuff for. I mean, there might be down the road, but right now, I mean, Jeremy Grant is Jeremy Grant. He's smaller than Rui. He's smaller than Vando. He can't rebound worth a damn. He is a quality defender. Offensively, he scored 20 points a game on a bad team.
On a bad team, right?
And that's his whole career has been mostly on bad teams.
But he is a volume 3-point shooter. Has athleticism to defend.
5 to 6.
He plays a position that allows LeBron to play the floor.
5 to 6 3-pointers a game does not make you a volume 3-point shooter. Rui took 4 as a starter.
That's fair.
Okay, we'll get Rui to get 1 more 3. Now he's a volume shooter.
That's fair. That's fair. I wouldn't give up 3 players for Grant. That's where I'm at. I don't see the smartness in giving up 3 players for Grant at this point. I feel like because of what the Lakers have to actually ship out, and once you trade those 2 draft picks that take you to the end of when you can trade draft picks, you're now left with the draft pick you get 2 years later, right? Every time. And so this is my point, is that you're seeing teams hold on to really good players for what amounts to the AD Hall, the Bridges Hall, the Gobert Hall, and so forth. If you want one of those players, you need to accumulate those type of assets. Now, if that means we trade good players for picks and not many players back, then so be it. And that might be the strategy the Lakers might need to switch around and embrace. I'm not talking about 7 guys for Zach LaVine. I'm talking about, somebody that San Antonio wants, somebody that OKC wants, whoever it is. If they want Vando and they're willing to accept him into some cap space, maybe send us an expiring contract and a first-round pick, that's great. Then you can start to accumulate these tools that the modern NBA requires you You're not going to get
We're not going to be able to accumulate those tools because we're a win now team. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I don't know.
What we're talking about accumulating is getting to 3 picks. OKC
I
has
think
19 picks, man.
3 picks is not enough to get marketing. 4 picks isn't enough. And I'm not talking.
And that's why we're not in the market.
I agree.
We're not. But I do think that the thing is that let's take a look at Portland. After I've been looking at Portland and thinking about the Lakers situation, I don't think that they're going after the right guy at Portland. I think that
who are they even
Simons is the guy that they should be going after. He's the guy point shooter.
And he's the guy you could give up a pick for because he is a good
He's the guy also that you could trade D'Lo for, and D'Lo all of a sudden becomes valuable because he's a person.
Here's a question for you guys.
Sure.
Everybody's talking. Yeah, it's obvious that D'Lo's been the guy we wanted to trade.
Yes.
Okay. My question is
whether or not we agree whether that's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, but who in the hell are they going to replace him with?
How do you replace him?
Especially now.
This team is this is the problem with the Lakers. There's not just a public perception that they're stuck. There's an internal GM NBA position that nobody needs to help them.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to help them for 1 or 2 draft picks and some garbage players. And I don't mean to say garbage players. I take that back.
Well, the problem is that we're not offering that second pick. Every time we talk about these deals that we don't make, everybody forgets to realize that Rob is not offering what would give the deal go.
I agree. And this is because I honestly believe this is because then you're limited to, okay, well, we can't really make a move next year because we can't trade next year's pick until draft day. So now we got to wait 2 years to get 1 tradable draft pick.
Then in December and January, you got to realize that summer is when really the big changes make. So we ought to save the picks for next summer because we'll have 1 more pick they offer.
But that's what they always do, Tom. And
I know. That's the old
this is why I predict they do nothing.
Kick the ball down the road,
This is why I keep predicting they'll do nothing. It's not because I don't want them to do nothing. It's because it's in logic and empirical evidence. And just
hey, listen, if I was putting money on predictions, I'd probably bet a lot more money on your predictions than mine.
And you'd be smart to do so. All right, listen. I'm going to try to move it along. So listen,
what do you think about trading for Simons?
I mean, I don't know that they're going to move
him. The kid can score at all 3 levels. He's a 40% 3-point shooter on 9 attempts per game.
That's why I don't think
he's 6'3", but he's got a 6'9.5" wingspan.
I know, but Tom, all the reasons
he's young.
For every reason you're bringing up, that's why they're gonna wait for 3 to 4 draft picks.
Well, they're not going to get 3 or 4, but if we gave him our 2 picks, we could get him.
He's not a star.
You don't need a star with LeBron.
I don't know. What do you define as a star?
And I don't even think you need a star as LeBron. You need to improve the team's chances to win with AD and LeBron. And a guy that can get to the rim like he can, and the guy that can shoot the 3 like he can, helps break down the defense.
And who's a point guard? Who's a point guard?
Well, that's always been my problem with Heath.
He's really a combo guard, but
he's a small combo guard.
His playmaking has improved dramatically.
I don't need for his playmaking to be great. D'Lo's playmaking isn't great. D'Lo's not a great playmaker.
Hey, I'll take 5 guys on the court who can distribute. Is much better than having 1 great playmaker.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm just saying that even that all these combo guards who average like 3 or 4 assists, if you have 2 or 3 other guys like Reeves averages 3 or 4 assists, D'Lo averages 3 or 4 assists. If you can get Rui, Vando, or one other player to average 3 or 4 assists, you've got a team that's sharing the ball. I don't need one guy to average 15 assists. That kind of model in the NBA, I actually think, is starting to die because of how defense is played.
Well, it's easier to guard. It's easier to guard a team with only one guy.
It's very predictable. It's more dangerous to have 3 or 4 guys who can make the smart play. So that part for me is kind of inconsequential. Whether the guy averages 20 assists or 10, as long as their team is moving the ball correctly and they're
I think that they should go after Simons as exactly the kind of player that we need.
But he's the exact type of player that Portland wants to keep because they need a guy like that. And this is the other thing. If you have
they're ready to trade him, they're ready to trade him because the one thing you got to say about Portland is they really are going into a complete rebuild, man. When you look at a guy like Simons, who's like 25 or 26, and they're ready to just cast him away because we're getting 18 and 20-year-olds.
Oh, well, they have two 21-year-old guards already in the backcourt. That's their future.
Yeah,
they
need minutes for those guards.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get minutes. This is the thing. Like, you know, Simmons, they're going to play the starting five, and they're going to.
Well, they also want to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes too.
They want to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. They want to win. They also want to show that they're the fan base that they can win now. And so I think that Portland's probably going to be a team. I don't think they're going to make a move this summer. I don't think there's really any impetus. I don't think anybody's going to wow them with the deal that they can't say no to. Right? That's the new bottom line for GMs. Is this a deal I cannot say no to?
If the Lakers make a deal, who do you think the deal would be with? Because
I don't. I mean,
I'm thinking if we make a deal, I'm thinking
Michael, go ahead. Michael, go ahead. I'm going to have to think about that. I don't think there's a team.
I think whoever the team that can feels like they can screw the Lakers the most,
right,
will be the one that makes the trade.
Joe, I'd like to thank you for pointing out that
I've always loved situations like the Yankees used to have with the Kansas City Royals, where they were like a minor league team of their own. The Lakers used to have some teams like Sacramento and other teams that it's really the GM relationships where you got a GM who's,
Well, Rob certainly burned the Sacramento bridge, didn't he?
Anyway,
there may not be a Laker tax, but there's definitely not teams trying to help the Lakers. That's for sure.
No, there never is. I'd like to thank Joe Sorrell for pointing out that I never changed my name on the broadcast. So I'm not Jamie Sweet today. I'm actually Joe Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos. All right, that's just in fun, Joe. I actually kind of enjoy Pop Culture Cosmos. All right, let's move it along. My last thing I wanted to bring up was I'm sure we've all seen it. The statue of Kobe and Gigi is absolutely beautiful.
Especially the one with a photo of the four kids.
Yeah, no, kids.
I mean, that was just the whole family there in a family shot is just.
It was really nice to see. It was a little bit heart-wrenching, to be honest. I got a little worked up, and I cannot wait to bring my kid to Staples, Crypto, whatever it's called. That I can't wait to bring my kid there and we can take a picture there and that's it. And I think it's the classiest statue since the Chick Hearn one. And if you haven't been to Staples, there's a really great Chick Hearn statue that you have to visit. The Shaq one's dope. The Magic one's dope. They're all cool. But the awesome thing about the Chick Hearn one is that there's a seat next to Chick, and somebody can take a picture as if you're the color commentator or hanging out with Chick or whatever. And I just think that's really cool. This is different in that it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful statue outside of Staples, and I really
because it's in color is such a dramatic difference too. All the other statues are like bronze, and it's This is they're actually colored like real people.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I was happy to see it. I love that they're doing the number thing that they're doing with all that. So if you're somebody who's going to see your first Laker game or have never been to Crypto for whatever reason, seeing the sparks or whatever else goes on there, make sure you stop by both the Chick Hearn statue because it's super cool and classy, and we all love Chick, but also stop by the Kobe and Gigi statue because it's beautiful.
There was a great. Vanessa had a great post that she made talking about how Gigi had to realize that she could never become like her dad,
Sure.
And it's so striking because when you to me, all of these things seem to be coming together to just really push women's basketball to new levels. Caitlin Clark, the whole Kobe as a girl dad, and now the statue with Gigi there, and Team USA and all of the things that are happening in the WNBA. It's great to see for women's basketball.
Oh yeah, and
I remember once complaining to my wife that I was reading a story and it turned out to be a women's basketball story rather than a men's. And I was bitching about that, and she told me, she says, you're going to have granddaughters at some time, and you may really regret having said what you said. And I had to admit later, after she reminded me about that I did. And I ended up coaching girls. And frankly, to tell you the truth, I think I maybe enjoyed coaching my granddaughters more than I did my grandson, which is weird.
I mean, everybody's different. There's all sorts of reasons why things are happening. All right, we can go on and on about Rob and his ineptitude, and Jeannie and her indecision in terms of not firing Rob and putting a real GM in place. I think
Have you done the team yet?
Huh?
Have you decided who's the team that the Lakers are most likely to trade with if we had to trade?
I'm going to say Washington.
Washington,
just because I think we take a swing at Valanciunas once you can get traded, and you could probably do. I think.
What is that? When is that? Is that 60 days?
Middle of December.
It's mid-December at this point for him.
Mid-December.
It's going to be mid-December.
So still the December 15th date rather than 60 days if it's early or something like that.
So basically, when you say mid-December, because of all the points Michael made earlier about the lottery and how teams are, you might as well wait to see if you're going to maybe make the playoffs.
Well, I always wondered why Valanciunas made the deal he did. If he knew that LeBron had,
because he has no look at well,
he knew that the MLE was $15 million. Why was he signing a 3-year, $10 million deal?
Because he saw he has a smart agent. His agent saw the landscape of the NBA marketplace and was like, "We need to get what money we can get right now and worry about the rest later."
Christian Wood's agent, same thing. I mean, he opted in almost immediately because they saw the big picture.
I could understand it in Wood's situation, especially since his shot disappeared during the year.
And it's health.
But when LeBron is saying, one of these three players will, and I'll take a cut so that you can give them the MLE.
No, I mean it was smart for Washington, and it was
the MLE is 3 years minimum.
No, listen.
See, you're talking about $45 million versus 30.
This is a good one. This chick buried in a pea patch. I don't think he's buried in a pea patch, but it'd be funny if he was. All right, let's wrap it up here. Okay. My guess is Washington, and I guess my guess is for Valanciunas.
And Michael, did you choose a team?
No, because there's only like 2 guys available for trades, so it's like
I'm not talking summer. Summer, there's nothing happening. This is it.
Yeah,
summer's done.
Yeah.
No, summer's done. I don't think so.
Summer's, of course you don't. But
yeah, of course, both of us do. You could say that Jamie and I have fairly well ironed out positions based upon
right. That's why we're on opposite sides of the screen with Michael in between us, because it makes so much sense.
And as far as trades and things like that go, I'm in no big hurry because this is a pretty good team. They're not going to.
I want to see what D'Lo can do. I want
to see what they can. If
we have D'Lo, I think it's kind of.
If we have reasonable health, there's always going to be injuries, but if we have reasonable, we never saw that with this team ever.
We never saw Vando last season, and I know
Vando. We signed.
Could we have the Vando just before he got hurt? We want him back. I'd like the Christian Wood back who could hit the 3-point shots consistently.
Yeah, we've signed Vincent for a reason. He's a quality defender.
Maybe Vincent could play 82 games.
So I mean that's my thing is I want to see what
the LeBron and AD from the Team USA.
Well, let's hope they have.
How about one major factor? Could we get rid of that Ham guy and maybe get somebody modern who was in favor of the 3-point shot and ball? Maybe a coach would make a difference. We could be better.
Let's just see what happens in real life. I think I'm not making any more predictions for how JJ coaches the team. I'm going to wait and see. I want to wait and see training camp. I want to see some scrimmages against whoever.
When you think about this team, Austin, Rui, Vando haven't reached their ceiling yet. They're not even really in their prime years yet. They're going to take a step forward. I don't know if it'll be a little step or a big step, but they're going to take a step forward. And I there's no reason not to think that.
AD may take a step forward too.
Yeah.
He has taken a step forward this summer.
I wouldn't mind if he took a step back and found that 3-point shot that went away.
Yeah, I think he's going to find it again. I think he's going to find it again because JJ's going to make him take it.
Listen. Ham said, "I want AJ taking 5 3-pointers a game." How'd that work out for him?
Well, there's a difference. You're going to see that there's a difference. You're going to see plays run to get open threes for guys who can shoot.
And I'll believe it when I see it, because everybody says all sorts of wonderful things in the summer, and everybody says all sorts of wonderful things at media day and during training camp, and then we see where the rubber meets the road.
I'm so glad I don't have to be limited. That all I can believe in is what I can see. That I can't ever imagine something even better or even worse, you know.
This is why I'm an agnostical atheist, because I only believe in what I can see, Tom. There's no need for me to go much further than that. On that note,
for me, the thing about it is that I think that the offense will. JJ is the first offensive-minded guy that we've had. I mean, we had Ham was a defensive guy. Frank was a defensive
guy.
Yeah. So it's like this is the first time. So his offense might be a little bit better. What's his defense going to look like? Who knows? But
probably I think better because at least our injuries last year were so critical because they hit us all in the same area. Defense. Yeah. They just exposed our defense weaknesses by eliminating all of the good defenders that we were counting on.
Basically. Anyway, we're going to have to stop here. I got to move on with my day. I'd like to thank Michael and LakerTom for joining us. And as always, subscribe, leave a comment, send Gerald an email about something you want us to talk about. He loves to get emails. And we'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one.
All right. Go Lakers.